Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode. I'm Jess.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Melissa. And today we have...
And that, my fellow listeners, was the exact moment it all went wrong. This was the very moment technology decided to intervene in the wrong ways. But thankfully, it was just the intro, so let me fill you in. So we had a very informative chat with the lovely Andrea, who joined us all the way from America. She is a baby and child sleep consultant who decided to understand the science of baby sleep when she had her firstborn because, let's face it, sleep is life. She is a mom of 2 little boys, and I initially came across her Instagram when I was cluster feeding at 2 a.m, wondering why is my child not sleeping. So I am a very big fan. So yeah, guys, let's get back into the chat.
Mama's Code.
Did you not start with a hairdryer first? Sorry.
A hairdryer, washing machine.
I remember once in a party, I went in so confused because Melissa was like on YouTube, like hairdryer noises, and I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, shh, she's going to fall asleep.
Anything to mimic white noise because that worked for her. And I remember thinking, wow, okay, I found my solution. I was literally the mum, like my kid needs to go to sleep, quickly grab my phone and just start putting it next to her so she can hear it. And it would work. And I'll be like looking at her thinking this is magical. So, just because it worked for me, is there like a science behind it? Like, do kids really think it's mimicking the womb?
Well, they're not going to do that process of like, oh, this is like the womb, but it's going to mimic the womb. And so that's what it's easier for them to feel comfortable. That's why we swaddle them so that they feel like tight. That's why we have the white noise. And that's why a lot of babies don't like to be on their back because they've never been on their back. And all of a sudden we put them there and see, like, all right, deal with it, right? But yeah, that's good instincts because that's literally, you're replicating. I mean, from the early times, if you look at like ancient pictures, there's always swaddled babies because we've always understood that they go from a confined space and they want to stay confined to stay comfortable.
Have you ever had the question with white noise? This is just kind of my question here, but help a friend out. We still use the white noise. I don't know if it's just now habit. My daughter's nearly 2, and I don't know if we all just like it, but it's just like silent waves in the background, and I find it really relaxing now. Is there a way of weaning her off?
There is. I mean, like with anything, you can wean it off, like make it lower volume each night, and then all of a sudden it's gone. But I mean, a lot of adults sleep with it. A lot of adults need it. There isn't enough. People ask me all the time, like, is this going to harm my kids? Like, auditory, what is it called? Like vision, hearing. And there's not enough research. And so it really depends on each mom to use it. My 3-year-old asks for it. I hate white noise. I cannot sleep with it on. So I'm so happy when we move baby out of the room. But it really depends on each kid and how much they need it. I wouldn't worry about it just because there isn't a lot of research saying that it's harming. I guess if in a couple of years that research comes out, then we can worry.
Yeah.
When my 3-year-old is like really tired and forgets to ask for it, he can fall asleep without it. So people worry that it's going to be a prop. People worry that like having a good sleep environment is a prop. They're like, well, I don't want to have to put them in a dark room in a comfortable bed for them to fall asleep. And I'm always like, why? Why not? Like, don't you want to give your kids the best? People are like, I want them to fall asleep wherever I am. I'm like, why? Do you fall asleep wherever you are? Like, don't we want to give our kids the best that we very can? Like, maybe you need them, like if they need to fall asleep at your work or something. But I mean, I always am of the opinion, if you can give your best to your children, then do that.
Would you say as well, if you instigate these good habits to them, then it will become easier for them to fall asleep in these environments? I mean, I know we're all out and about, and sometimes, they will need to take a nap in the car or in a buggy. Do you think if they have good sleeping habits, it becomes easier for them? Or do you think that...
In general, yes. But it's, again, depend on each kid, right? Like some kids do not like sleeping sitting up, so they will not fall asleep in the car seat. But in general, if a baby is not overtired, is used to falling asleep, they're going to have an easier time adapting to new situations. Of course, there's always a kid that's like always tired because they've never had good sleep, and so they'll fall asleep anywhere.
That sounds like me.
But I know, right? I've never seen the movie.
All the time.
I know. I'll tell Joe, let's watch a movie. He's like, you just want to fall asleep.
It's funny you said that, because I had the misconception that, you know, my daughter, she falls asleep with white noise. If we're home, she takes a nap. I would always say, like, when she was younger and she was taking like 2 naps, if we're out about in the morning, then I will try be at home for the afternoon so she can take a good nap then, or vice versa. But I always had in the back of my mind, you know, when I need her to fall asleep, let's say I'm out for the whole day, what if she can't? And that would sometimes put me on edge, because I think, am I teaching her wrong?
Yeah, that's a hard one. And I think that's something that's like, it's just part of being a mom. You're always wondering if you're doing something wrong. But I would encourage you to say, like, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens, right? Like, let's stay out today and see what happens. And if she can't sleep, okay, well, she's going to be overtired. We might have a whiny kid at night, and we won't try this again for a few months, right? But I think it's really important to respect each child as who they are, and then also respect yourself as who you are. Like, maybe you need to go out once a month and have your day and be out and about and not worry about naps. Maybe that's a need. And, you know, babies need happy and healthy moms. So that has to come first as well. So I think it's just a constant consideration of what is our family in general and how can we provide that.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing, because, I mean, all of us coming from Latino backgrounds, you know, you always have La Fiesta and throw your child on the sofa and sleep. But they don't understand that, because they're so old school. They think, you know, we used to put, you know, throw you and 10 other cousins on the sofa and you would all fall asleep. Why can't my grandchildren or my nieces and nephews do the same? And you're like, I need to get home for nap, or I need to get home for bedtime. And you start feeling that pressure of people thinking, why are you so quick to, like, what's going to happen? Nothing. Like, your child's not going to, you know, have an issue if they're not home for bedtime. But maybe it's the way for you as a mom to keep sane and healthy and putting yourself first. And, you know, we don't all have the same children, and people are so inner to judge you and say it's fine and why. And
but doesn't that go against the whole point of, you know, keeping your identity? I, for one, I'm not old and I'm not old school, but I have followed that, you know, I don't like stressing. And I think I balance off my partner, and I am a person that I suffer from mental health. So if I'm like, and with my first child, like, you know, it's a trial and error with him, because with my first child, I was like this lion. And if my child needed to sleep, I remember I used to live with my parents, and my dad has a very loud laugh. So the living room was here and my room was here. And whenever it was Joel was down for a nap or even sleeping, my dad would laugh. I remember like feeling resentment towards him, because I would be like, oh my God, why does this man laugh like this? And it just used to irritate me. But then my partner was like, Erica, you need to take it down a notch, because it's like, when you're on a bus, how are you going to argue with every single human being that makes a noise? You know, we're never going to be able to go out to a party, because you're always going to be stressing, oh my God, the kid's sleeping, like he's not going to be able to, you know. And just like Melissa says, just being on edge, because, you know, oh, I know that my kid goes to sleep at this time, so I have to run home. For me, I've always made sure my kid, you know, my family are loud anyways. I'm sure every single Latino family is loud. So raising your child in, like, I remember I had a family friend that her child would walk in sleeping, and she'll bring her in like in the car seat, and she would walk into my mum's house and like put all the blinds down because the baby had to be in a dark room. Again, I understand every person does it to their own way. It's what you feel comfortable doing. But what Jess was saying, you know, it's just so people can, what if I'm putting myself first? But you're not really putting yourself first, because you're putting your child first. Because if it was you would want to have still that, you know, I'm a party goer. Like, before being a mum, you like sitting down in parties and laughing. When we get together, are we not the loudest bunch? So if we were that, then people are like, oh my God, like they're going to wake my baby up. I'm going to put my hand up. I sometimes feel like that, especially when you've had such a rough day. However, if you kind of always have in your mind, oh my God, like, you know, this is stress, just as they're going to wake him up, this is going to just stress me, I'm just going to avoid it and not go, you're gonna like lose confidence within yourself, and your child's never gonna be like used to noise. My point is, you don't put your child in that situation because you think they're not going to be able to handle it. So you already take out that equation to make the baby feel comfortable, but you don't even get, like you said, Andrea, at least try it. You know, it's trial and error. If you know that your baby's going to be grumpy, then you know, okay, let's not do it for another. But at least give them the chance to feel, you know, noise, be able to fall asleep with noise.
Feel the stress.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying, but I also want to challenge it a bit because I had insane postpartum anxiety and it manifested in sleep and obviously manifested in all this. So I was like that. And my husband's family is very loud. And so we wouldn't hang out with them after night, or if we did, we had a light white noise. And it was always important to me. I think that's how I had control, was by making sure that he had enough sleep. And so we did that. And then, like at the 4th of July party, we let him be up a little longer and it would backfire. So I would not do it. And then I would try something. But now once he turned like 1.5, like we let him skip his birthday party and he was fine. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of recognizing what you need and how you react to things. And then also seeing, like, maybe taking that chance that you're talking about would have stressed me so much out that it wouldn't have been worth it.
Yeah.
But maybe I need to take that chance. So I think that is really important to keep talking about, like, what do you need and what does your child need and how do we mesh those together?
Yeah.
Because if like a big part of your identity is to go to parties, well, then maybe you want to try to see if you can have a babysitter so that you don't have to be worried about that, right? Or maybe a big identity part is having parties and bringing your child. And so you need to work around that. And perhaps if that backfires, then be able to take a step back and say, like, it's just a phase. Maybe it's going to be a whole year, but it's just a phase. But I think that's really important to talk about. Like, what do you need and how does that combine with your kids' needs?
How can we balance it? Well, this is what I was saying, like, if it's something that you implement on the child or they just come with it, because I mean, the whole, you know, putting your mental health before, because it's true. Maybe you've trialed it and thought, let's skip this nap, but then my child has been a nuisance and up all night because of this. Why am I going to do it every single day to please people? I'm not talking for personal experience. I'm just saying, when anxiety comes in and depression and non-sleep, I just like, do you really care what people think?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why it's so important to talk about these things and to recognize it and to know when it's, you know, normal balance and when you're going overboard, like your partner telling you that you had to take it down a notch. That probably helped you see, like, this isn't normal.
Well, just the point to, you know, I had to kind of sit down and realize, wow, you're actually starting to hate your own dad because he laughs a certain way. Like, it makes no sense logically. And then even when he said, he was like, so when you get on a train, or when you get on I don't know if you've ever been to London, but the underground is so loud. Like, the trains, they make horrendous noises. If my child wakes up, it's something out of my control. So that's kind of like something you need to learn along the way. You can't control everything, you know, and especially like now with 2 kids, I'm sure you experienced it. When I had a newborn, I didn't have it in my heart to tell my other child, you need to shut up because my child just fell asleep. I couldn't. And I felt so guilty because sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, like he literally just went down for a nap. And then I had Joel screaming off his lungs. How do you do that? I can't hate him. I can't sit there and be like, oh no, I hate this kid now. Like, let's give him away.
I know. It's interesting you talk about that because that's literally the only times in my life that my blood has boiled for my kid. It's when he woke up as little brother. Yeah. And I didn't like that about me. And I was like, this isn't good. So we have to change something. Yeah. But, you know, I think that's part of all of motherhood, like constantly reevaluating, constantly feeling guilt and seeing where it comes from and how we can change it, especially when you have more than one kid, or even when you just have one kid and all your attention is focused on that, hyper-focused on that one kid. I mean, motherhood is just hard.
It is very. it is.
Battle with yourself and
Don't do it.
We say it's hard, but if we were to get pregnant again, we'd be like, okay, well, it's coming, you know, bring it on.
I mean, I've talked about how I feel like I'm up to grips with the whole motherhood right now. I feel quite comfortable, let's say, if that's the correct way. I don't want to disturb that right now. Thinking about another child at this point for me is like, I'm quite happy where we are right now, and let me enjoy this, because we all know they go through sleep regressions.
Mama, I love you.
Oh, hate them. They're like my worst nightmare.
Don't. Why are you not sleeping? Because now you can crawl. Why?
You know, you decided, exactly. You decided to crawl, so now they're doing this bumbling, and they wake up, and then because they woke themselves up, they can't go to sleep again, and you're just like, yesterday you slept fine, today you're waking me up, the next day you're waking me up, the day after. So you know, kids love to throw spanners.
I remember Erica, when your second born was learning how to sit, I remember you saying, oh, he's learned how to sit up now, but so he practices during the night, and I'm constantly like waking up and he's just sitting there in his cot. And I used to think, like, does he want a round of applause? Like, why? Like, what? I couldn't understand as to why it's such a big deal for them. But then obviously when you read into the milestones and the regressions, you realize that when they sleep, their brain is processing everything, and so during the night
they're overstimulated.
Yeah, and they're so excited about what they've done during the day that they just think the nighttime is the best thing to do.
I've even found that I don't know if you guys, but if we've had like a hectic day during the day and like a lot has gone on and maybe we've seen new things, my child had a hard time going to sleep, or he was like, maybe not going to sleep, but maybe it was that process of falling into sleep. And I remember I'd be like on Google, my best friend, searching, why is my child fiddling, and it's his bedtime. It's amazing the things Google tells you and you learn along the way. I remember with my first, I would tell them, I'd be like, I just don't understand. Like, he slept fine yesterday, and then like today he's just not sleeping. Like, what is going on? He's broken.
I love that. My baby's broken.
Where's the manual?
When they give you that 10 hours sleep at night, and then the next day they have like
3 wake up.
Yeah,
it's like they literally shattered your dreams.
My niece has always slept well, and then last week my sister was like, Andrea, you have no idea how bad it was. Like, she was up from midnight to 1, like she was just awake that whole hour, and I was like,
you think that's bad?
You know, and I think that's a really big part of it too, because obviously with my kid not sleeping and her kid being younger and always sleeping better, I really never wanted to have resentment towards her. And obviously it's my niece and I love her so much. And so I had to practice that. Like, you really can't compare yourself to anyone. You're just going to be miserable. You have to be happy for other people's sleep, other people's successes. And that just like has really helped me, I think, understand my children too, because they're so different, both of my kids too. So constantly reminding myself that they're just different it's really helpful.
It's interesting you said that, because Erica and I both have our kids, our cousins. KK is 2 months older, and I remember with Maya, I would look at Kay and he would just fall asleep, and I'd look at my child and I'm like, why are you still awake? Like, look at your little cousin. Look at your cousin and do it as well.
Take note, Maya.
Meanwhile, okay, she'll go down to bed and we'll both put them together in a party in the bedroom. Kay will sleep for an hour and a half. My child will be up after 45 minutes. And I was like, I can't. And I would look at Eric and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, the sleep machine. So even Kay had the sleep machine going because Maya obviously had it. So, and she would just wake up. And I just started thinking, you know what? They're so close to in age, but so different in how they fall asleep and how much they sleep. Maya's always been such a child where she wants to know everything. So she's probably thinking, I'm in a party. There's no time for sleep. I'm taking 45-minute session and I'm ready to carry on. Whereas Kay's probably thinking, I can't be bothered. Sleep is more important.
That party is overrated.
100%.
The comparing and me thinking like, man, why can't my daughter do it?
Yeah.
Andrea can vouch, as she said it, like, even your own kids, they have complete different sleep patterns. Like, I remember with Joel, at the beginning, it was so hard. Like, there was days that I promise you, I would keep thinking, I was like, oh my God, why did I do this? Jesus, take the wheel. I remember it was, we were so tired. You know, the basket of the buggy, we put it inside the crib just so he could feel a bit more confined. Because if not, like, literally, I'm going to say, like, he slept on me like this, like, I think for 3 months of his life, because he just would not sleep. And I probably didn't sleep for the 3 months because every time he moved, I'll be like, oh my God, I can't fall asleep.
But I think that's one thing that I really enjoyed about your Instagram, Andrea, was that you always say, if it's sustainable in your household, then why is it a problem? You know, we've come across a lot of people that are like, you know, why is my baby's not sleeping, or what's happening, or should I sleep train? What if I want to breastfeed my child through the night? What if I want to co-sleep? Co-sleep is a massive thing. And I just think that's, hearing that from you is so, it kind of puts your guilt and anxiety to a side, because it's like, it's true. Why if it's not a problem to me, why am I going to stop doing this? Or why am I now going to start sleep training, or you know, stop feeding them through the night?
It doesn't feel right. I think two things. One, I want to share that one of my closest friends, she's a crazy homeschooler kind of mom, right? And so she's got 3 little ones. They're 4, 2, and a few months old. And up to like still her 2-year-old isn't sleeping. So she was kind of co-sleeping with her newborn and with her 2-year-old. And, you know, her closest friend is a pretty successful sleep trainer, you know, and I just love that she has owned that she wants to co-sleep with her family, and that's what works for her. And she'll ask me for help sometimes, like, what should I do? And I'll give her tips, but I'm never going to be like, you need a sleep train, because she's the one up at night with them, right?
Yeah.
They're with them. And I was going to say a second thing, but I have mom brain, so I forget what I was going to say.
Don't worry.
Puppy. Good girl.
Do you think there's a misconception of the older the child, the better they sleep?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I told you at the beginning, I've had 8-year-old clients. It really, when like some babies, that's the thing too. I've had clients that are like, my baby won't sleep, and that's how we co-sleep. And I say, well, have you tried it? Have you tried co-sleeping? And have you tried sleep training? And they'll try sleep training, and the first night they'll fall asleep by themselves and sleep through the night. And that kid knew how to fall asleep all along, but we never gave him the opportunity.
Yeah.
That's another thing I'm really passionate about. Like, you can't say your baby doesn't, or your toddler doesn't know how to ride a bike if you've never put him on a bike.
Yeah.
Right. So when moms are like, well, my baby does not know how to fall asleep on their own, it's like, well, have you given him the right schedule, the right environment, the right, you know, routine? Have you given him the right appropriate time and opportunity to try that skill? Because if you haven't, then like you can't say they can't do it. Right. And sometimes getting that skill isn't easy because you have a screamer, or you have someone that really fights it, or you don't have the schedule right. And that's when people like just get desperate and they think it's not for them. So you have to find that as well.
Does all sleep training consist in hearing them cry, even if it's like 5-10 minutes?
No, there's really, really gentle methods where you're with them and they're not necessarily crying, but all sleep training is going to consist of some kind of crying, even if you're next to them, because most kids don't like breaking habits. There are rare, like I told you, a few of my clients just put them in there and they don't even cry and they fall asleep. It really depends on each baby and how you do it and when you do it. You know, if you're doing it right in the middle of 4th month regression, they most likely will cry. If you do it right in the middle of like toddlerhood and they're very vocal, they're probably going to fight it. It depends on so many factors. But there's always going to be some kind of fight, right?
Yeah. Do you think? Sorry, go on, Moo.
I was going to say, for all you new parents to be, and you know, with the newborns, the 4-month sleep progression.
Yeah, I was going to say
possibly the worst thing.
What? Like, obviously, regressions consist of them learning new stuff, but what else does it consist of?
Yeah, so the 4-month, I actually call it the 4-month sleep progression, and a lot of sleep consultants do as well. I don't know if I made it up and they all copied me.
You own that, girl.
Because that is a time when baby sleep turns into more adult-like REM sleep. And I don't know if you guys know much about REM sleep, but basically you go through cycles of stages of sleep, which start with really, really shallow sleep, not super deep, and then it goes into deeper, into REM sleep, and then all that sciencey stuff. I'm not a sciencey person. And so the cycle ends and you briefly wake up. And then you go back to sleep and do the whole cycle again, but it's shorter. And then you do it again and it's shorter during the night. Adults only do that like twice, if not 3 times a night. But babies' sleep cycles are a lot shorter. They're 90 to 120 minutes, right? And so that's why they're up every 90 to 120 minutes. And so let's say they're falling asleep nursing or with a bottle. Once they go through that first cycle, they're going to say, oh, where's my milk? Like, that's what I need to fall asleep. And so they're going to call for it. Whereas when they're newborns, they only wake up if they're hungry or if they're uncomfortable, right? And so once their brain has progressed to different kinds of sleep, that's when they start entering those cycles and needing help linking those cycles. Some babies are able to link those cycles by themselves and they sleep through the night. And it's awesome. Most babies, or the babies I talk to at least, like they are following for a reason. Can't do that, right? And so that's why sleep training comes into the picture. It's because they need to learn how to fall asleep on their own so that they don't have to call you every time they have a sleep cycle.
So would you consider, just a quick question, my nearly 2-year-old, would you consider he's fallen asleep on his own? Like, I still stay in the room with him. That would be him falling asleep?
No.
So I would have to leave the room for him to be able to fall asleep on his own?
Well, does he sleep through the night?
Yeah.
Then I don't see a problem unless you see a problem. Is what you're doing sustainable? Do you mind staying in the room until you fall asleep?
No, because sometimes I fall asleep. Early night for me.
There's no pressure to change that if that's what's working for you. Like, if you're, that's what I was going to say. I think all decisions that we make as moms are either based on, in life also, are based in love or fear. Always make decisions based on love. If you believe that right now staying in the room until you fall asleep is a good bonding moment for you and him, and he's sleeping through the night and he is a happy, healthy boy, there's no reason to, out of fear, stop because you're scared that someone might judge you for doing it, or you're scared that that's not the best thing to do, right?
Yeah.
So always, that's my thing. Like, choose whatever the one out of love is, even if it's the harder one, even if it might judge you for it, whatever you can choose and solely say, like, I am doing this because it is based on me loving. Then that's what I at least think we should do always.
Yeah, I'm sure it's happened to all of you that you'll have a rubbish day, and then at the end of the night when they've gone to sleep, you just want to hold them that bit longer, just because they're not going to be that small again. And
It's mainly just for comfort, really.
For yourself, isn't it?
Not even for them. Yeah, because sometimes, like, I just lay there and he just kind of points to my chest that he wants to sleep there, and I'm like, oh yes, come and lay here.
it's the only time they'll cuddle you.
Yeah.
I do think there is a point where we have to say, well, is my child in a good mood all day? Is my child able to, hit all their milestones? Are they getting cranky and anxious all day? Because good sleep is important. I don't want to say, I do say, like, you do you, mama. But if your child isn't getting sleep and is not in a happy mood and is not developing right, well, then you need to figure out something that works despite all your needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Definitely not as judgy, but still we have to say, like, hey, what is working for me is not the best for my child, and I have to make a change, even if it's hard. So I do want to have that message out there because that's important, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think the point you said, Erica, about having sometimes almost like needing that affection as well from your children, especially the older they get. If your kids are quite independent, they know it's bedtime. They even point at the cot and they're ready to go to sleep, and you're like, how about a little cuddle? No cuddle? No, okay. And you're just like, oh man. And I said to Erica not too long ago, sometimes I think, was I too strict with her bedtime and her routine, that now she's like, no, mom, I don't need you to fall asleep. Just put me in the cot, I'll do it by myself. And I do miss that. I do miss the cuddle sometimes.
Yeah, but I think that's part of it. When I was young, my mom told me, this is something she took much to heart, as most people did in her generation, is your role as a parent is to make your child not need you, right? So that they can be successful, that they can, like, if you tie your kid's shoelaces until they're in like 7th grade, like, that's not good just because you like being able to cuddle with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is a sad step, I think, but it's a good one. It's a good thing to give them independence that they can deal with.
Yeah.
It's the bigger picture.
Yeah. I studied like child development. My background is in elementary education. So there's a lot of that, like giving them what they need when they need, and then letting go and letting them be who they are, which is the hardest thing. I mean, I cannot imagine when my kids go to college.
Daddy, I love you.
So before having this episode with you, we put out to our Instagram if there was any Q&As that some of our listeners had. So we just want to throw a couple out there to pick your brains and hopefully get some answers to them as well. One of those questions is like, why does my baby wake up during the night? And they've ticked all the boxes. They're fed, they're clean, they've burped, everything they know. but the baby's still waking up and it's happening regularly. What could they be looking for? What can they try?
Usually what it is that prop I was explaining to you, like they fall asleep with something that's not there in the middle of the night. Maybe mom's in the room when they fall asleep, and when they wake up, mom's not there, so they call out for mom. Or maybe they fall asleep to milk, or maybe specific music, or maybe white noises when they're falling asleep, but not throughout the night. And so they don't have that consistency throughout the night. Other times it's schedule. A lot of people want to be that person whose kids don't need a schedule. A lot of babies really need that schedule. And so if baby's undertired, overtired, having too much sleep during the day, having not enough sleep during the day, that's going to affect them at night. It's hard because babies are like that. So you think like, well, her baby doesn't need that. But some babies do. And if you're having sleep issues, you might need to have a little more structure with your schedule or a little more sleep training than others. And doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your baby, but it just means your baby has different needs that you need to attend to.
I think this was the higher percentage of question was, how do you get your child into their toddler bed and not co-sleep?
So the transition.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really tough one. I tend to try not to answer that in a quick question and answer because for a few things. One, because you have to go through sleep training. And so this is something I have in my sleep plan, right? Like steps for this. Because it's not an easy answer and it's not an easy appliance. So I hate to just say, well, just put them in there and walk away because it's not going to work out. But basically the basic of it is talking your child to it. I am a huge believer in communication, talking to everyone in the household about expectations, and then going through some kind of sleep training method, and then at your pace, and going through a weaning of environment at your pace as well. I know that's not going to help, but it's one of the questions I really try not to answer really quick because it is not a quick solution in most cases.
I think with everything, there isn't a overnight
quick fix,
magical quick fix. It's all a progression, and it's all kind of like trial and error. You trial it for a period and see if it works, and see if you're able to get your child to transition.
Yeah. And sometimes that transition is overnight and it's pretty cool, but sometimes that transition takes a week or two. Depends on how fast you want to go as well.
Would you say that's the same as cutting down feeds during the night for, I think,
20-month-old?
I'm always going to, protect myself and always never answer nutrition questions. So always ask your pediatrician what they believe. Ask your nutritionist if you need more help. In my experience, no. See, I don't want to be liable for anything. Once you have decided that your baby is old enough to not have feeds through the help of your pediatrician, and that's who you can blame in any case.
Yeah. Does keeping the room dark actually help the child sleep a bit longer?
Yes. This is something people love to fight me on when they want to fight me on something. When I only had less followers, I had more haters. For some reason, once it's 40,000, I haven't had as many trolls, but people used to hate me on this all the time, which ironically gave me engagement and let me grow into 40,000. Are like, well, if you always give them that perfect dark environment, they'll never learn to sleep without it. And I just write back to them like, yeah, I agree. Like humans, it's just how we sleep better. It's the reason we sleep when the sun sets and wake up when the sun rises. When we didn't have electricity, we used to do 5-5 schedules, right? Because our bodies shut down with darkness. And darkness helps the production of melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. And light stops that production. And light alerts our body so that we can be awake. The caveman would wake up, know that animals were coming or whatever. I don't know where that was going.
I was never a caveman.
Darkness encourages sleep. And if they see some light at 5 a.m. when their circadian rhythms are powering down and there's homeostatic pressure is going down, which is a push to sleep, they're not going to go back to sleep. So if you have an early waker and there is any light, that was the number one thing to fix.
But it's interesting actually as well, because now it's summer, there's more daylight.
There's more wake ups.
And going to bed.
Yeah, for me, going to bed, it's like, it's still too bright. I can't remember what her name is. It Taking Care of Babies, I think I came across. She's an American lady as well. I remember she said something, if you can see your hand when you're in the room, it's too bright. And I was like, one night I was like, oh, it's too bright. And I'm there trying to block out as much light as I can because I wanted, is it me being selfish, to get as much sleep as well? So yeah, but now it's daylight. you can't kind of, unless you're sleeping in a box with hundreds of layers, there's going to be some light. And I think now, personally, with my daughter, she's there's days where she will fight more because it's just maybe too bright for her to fall asleep.
Yep.
In saying that, like, it's not just for babies. I think for adults too, like you said, Andrea, like we obviously, our bodies shut down with darkness. Because I remember when me and my family moved here, I was 5, and I remember my mum staring out the window, and it was like, we got here in the winter, so obviously at 4 it's already dark. We would go to sleep. And it was only like years later that we realized that shit, we've been sleeping a long time. Because, 4 in the afternoon, and we wake up like 7 or 8 because it was, or 9 even, because it was still really dark.
That is hilarious.
And even every time we tell that story, like I just like standing there by the window looking at the sun go down. Okay, it's time for bed. We had nothing else to do. So you can just about imagine the confusion of a baby. It's dark. Okay, let's go to sleep. And then they see light, and it's like, okay, time to wake up.
Yeah, they don't have a clock. They can't just look on like 5 more minutes.
This was my personal question, but I think we've covered that. Is that like I've got the whole day routine. We're all good. We're napping good. We're sleeping through the night. It's 5:30 in the morning, and he's jumped. Like he's like, happy. Let's go play. And I'm like, but why? But as Melissa, you're saying, if you can see your hand, then it's too bright. I can see his big ass hair, and he's just sitting he's just looking over the crib at me in the bed, and he's like, "Mama," and I'm like, "Oh, it's 5:30 in the morning. Like, why are you awake?" But it's clearly too bright in the room. If I'm doing everything right,
I can send you the link on Amazon for the blinds I bought.
maybe I'll put newspaper all over it.
I mean, my niece has always slept in a pitch black room. So there you go. My sister puts blankets and sweaters around the corners and underneath the door, so there's not a sliver of light.
The extremes you go to.
But just in case, paint the room black.
I'm laughing. But if I was to show you our room right now, there is something underneath the door thing, because she would Maya would wake up, she'd be like, loose, and I'll be like, it's illusion, there is no loose, I am covering the loose now.
One last question, and this is coming from, I think the baby was 5 months, is what is the best way, if there is one, to burp their child when they're falling asleep?
Yeah, so that's what people say always, like, my baby keeps falling asleep at the breast, or my baby keeps falling asleep and there's nothing I can do. And I'm always like, well, what if you try to feed them earlier? That one, just feed them earlier so they're not falling asleep right then.
And just cuddle their sleep if that's what you want to do.
A lot of these sleep issues do have quick solutions, and those quick solutions don't come by really quickly. Like, that's just like second nature to me after 2.5 years of only talking about baby sleep 24/7. That's the cool thing. That's something if you follow me on Instagram, you know about that. Like, we need to have a mom village. We need to talk to people. We need to make friends and talk about these things that are hard. Because once you talk about something that's hard, someone else feels more comfortable about it as well, and can give you help, and you can give them help. Everyone has something to give, but nobody has all the answers.
And I guess you feel that bit normal that you're not the only person up with the same issue, that you think you're the only one going with that.
Which is just ridiculous.
So, and I just said one last question, but I'm just looking at here. There's one last point. If you have an older kid and they're waking up earlier to say they're hungry,
It's just a fat kid.
now,
Yes. I wonder whose kid that is.
let's say we put them to bed full, and we know that they are okay, that they can sleep a couple of extra hours more, but they're up early. How can you try and do you just dismiss them and say, no, I know you're full, go back to sleep, you can last another hours? Or,
I mean, honestly, this is something else. Like, sleep also depends on your day.
yeah.
And so I had a client recently who was like, well, when he screams so much at night, and if we don't go, he keeps screaming. And I was like, well, what do you do during the day when he screams? Do you go right to him, or do you try to help him figure out a way of... So it's going to depend a lot on your parenting. What do you do when he's hungry and he just ate? Do you give him another snack, or do you make him wait till next time? Or do you make sure he eats all for the... it's a lot, a big thing. Or do you make him more independent and tell him, I set out the cereal in a bowl there, and you can pour it for yourself, and I'll be up when my time to be up. So that's going to be a lot of thinking of your parenting style and what you want and what your goal is. If your goal is to have everybody only eat at 8 a.m. when breakfast time, then do that and tell them they have to wait till breakfast. If your goal is to stay in bed while they make their own breakfast and you can set that up for them, that's completely fine too. Like, what works for your family? What is going to work for your kid's personality? Like, maybe they're very needy and they need that extra push to be a little more independent. Or maybe they're really independent and need that time on their own to focus for the day. You know, it's a constant conversation with yourself, with your partner, with your kids, with your friends. There's never going to be a right and wrong answer. The only right answer is like, what's the best for us as a whole.
No, I actually think that's interesting, because you would think that sleep is just what's going on at night, but going through actually what kind of day have you had, or how am I responding to you, like just that, it's like, wow, like it makes so much sense. I remember seeing I think it was one of your Q&As as well. It was like the child kept waking up at night after a milestone, and you advise that maybe practice what they've learned throughout the day, so they get to hang of, you know, what their new skill is. And I did that when my child started crawling, and then at night he was absolutely fine. And now that he's starting to walk, the whole day I'm like, okay, let's walk from this side to the room, walk out. And it's very interesting, because it, you know, it's what you were saying, it depends on how you react to them and what your parenting is like.
Yeah, it happens to a lot of newborn moms. They're like, whenever I put them down for bed, they want to be held. And I asked them, well, do you put them down at any other point in the day? And they say no. It's like, how would that make you feel? I put myself in baby shoes all the time. Right. And it's a fun exercise to do with your own child too. When they're upset about something, I say, okay, why are you upset? Okay, I would be upset. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk about it. And that helps me. You know, people always tell me like, how are you so patient? How do you not lose it? It's just because I grew up in a culture where there was a lot of losing it, and it wasn't successful. Like, kids don't do what you want just because you yell at them, right? And so I found my own parenting style to be more understanding, not lenient. I'm definitely strict, and my kids know what I mean, I say. But, you know, it's just about finding that way of treating our children like humans and understanding them as humans too, not just little robots. We want them to do what we want them to.
All I know is I wish I was celebrated for having naps. Like, I wish everyone would say, Jess, have a nap. Go on, go have a nap.
Yeah, literally.
So what we normally like to like wrap everything up is give a golden tip. And obviously you're our guest, so we want to ask you any golden tips that you might want to give to our listeners.
Yeah, you know, spend time thinking about baby sleep and what it means to you and what it means for your child and who your child is. So get to know, that's what I always say, like the most important thing about baby sleep, to get to know your child and to get to know their needs, and then do all the research, of course, if you need it, and reach out for help when you need that. But the most important thing is to get to know what your specific child needs and your specific family, and to be okay with that. And as long as you're making decisions out of love and out of care, like, be proud of that. If it starts going wrong, there's nothing wrong with that either. You know, you just have to figure out how to make it so that you feel comfortable with the situation.
Perfect.
Maybe as mums, we're too proud to ask for help as well. Especially if we do ask for help, it's like, oh, what are X and Y going to say? Because I now reached out to, let's say, a sleep consultant to help me figure it out when they didn't, or my parents didn't.
Well, it feels like that. Please know that I hired a sleep consultant for my second child. I didn't actually pay her because we're friends, but she walked me through it, and I had to have her tell me what to do because I couldn't emotionally do it myself. There's absolutely no shame in that. I needed help, and I reached out for that help, and I am happier after.
And I think it makes you stronger as a woman and as a mother, because, you know, if you don't love yourself and take care of yourself, how are you going to be able to take care of those little humans?
Right, guys, so you heard that. If you liked some help, feel free to follow Andrea on babysleep.answers. She has a Q&A every Wednesday, and she's, she always posts information, and she does sleep plans as well. You've got ebook as well. It's all there for you, and we'll put it in the description for the episode. But yeah, guys, I think that is a wrap. Thank you, Andrea.
Lovely speaking to
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Mama's Code out. Mwah.
Mama's Code.
Oh my God.
You just had to, didn't you?